This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', and welcome back to the Only Friends podcast. And you know, I'm here with my only friends and a Malaysian ankle biter. But you know, my number two.
Whoa. I'm definitely one of you.
You are one of my friends. Come back here.
That's your side piece, man. You can't treat your side chick like that.
It is true. This is my side piece. But you know, my number two is in the building today. What is poppin'?
You know, when you say it like that, you make me sound like a piece of shit.
Well,
you're number two.
Well,
who does number two work for?
Wait, why? I always wondered this. Why isn't he your number one?
Yeah, who the fuck is the number one?
Girlfriend.
Obviously. Like when we look at it, right? We would say, "Oh, you're number one. He's number two." But when it's your number two, that means there's a number one.
I think it hurts him more when I say number two, though.
Sure.
I think I can never let the number two.
But then who's your number one, though? Is it Guapo?
Guapo. You already know, baby.
Thanks, Connie.
Guapo's number one.
Your guys' mics might be a little too close together. Everybody's saying that Conrad's echoing.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Shut the fuck up, Conrad.
Stay the fuck away from me, man.
Can you turn the microphone?
I mean, also, you guys are... Somebody get a hold of this goddamn production, man. Conrad's literally sitting dead center in the shot, and Andre's like 2/3 of the way out of frame.
I said this about 2 minutes ago.
I mean, it's really just Conrad's ego taking up the entirety of that block at this point. That it's gotten too.
I mean, he's the number one. You know, he gets all the
better.
screenshots.
Looks better?
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is I can start going into the center because Conrad just finished the rest of what he was talking about on the podcast.
That is true. You won't hear from him again because he's obviously our benevolent leader and he's willing to let our voices be heard. Also, do you want a stool to sit on or some sort of fucking booster seat? I mean,
you talking to me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Berkey, you trifle with the wrong people.
No one likes a trifling ass bitch.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep.
Well, people don't know, but I just won nationals again.
Yeah.
For the third time this year.
If you, first of all, why are nationals running so often? Isn't this like a once a year type of competition?
I'm starting to think it's like the Senior Citizens Club.
It's for different types of fighting.
I see. And second of all, if you're gonna flex, at least come with some fucking assets that my man Guapo can pull up like a winner's photo. Like this all just sounds like fabricated bullshit.
It just
We
wins
need some
so
receipts.
often. At some point, like they don't really.
Yeah, we need receipts, man.
They stop. Like, you know, when you're just like such a big winner, you don't promote yourself as much anymore, right?
You know,
Guys, for everybody at home who may be unaware, this is Christian Soto. Welcome back,
Our guest for today.
my little buddy. He's back in the building, baby.
And this is why Christian doesn't come.
for the rest of the podcast.
I'm not coming back now.
Look, I told Landon was my. Why does everybody get upset by me calling them their little buddy?
Bro, you call everyone that
know.
you demean buddy.
It's demeaning,
Like,
condescending.
Little buddy is way different.
No, that's just because now you recognize that buddy.
No,
is
I've always
bad.
known buddy is bad.
Yeah,
I'm having so much fun over here.
buddy.
I've always known, but there was a list that somebody tweeted out yesterday. It was like the 15 things white people say.
it's things white people say that they should say more of.
Yeah. And the last one was calling people buddy.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Was based on there?
It wasn't.
based was
Hold
not.
on. I can try to pull it up. It's
Did
actually
not
really
make the
good.
list.
Can we? I'd like to see this list.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
we all
I
would.
got you. Let me go to the media section on the OnlyFriends podcast.
This is where we defer
Got
to
it.
Landon, our
Ready?
meme lord.
Yeah, this is me. Number
Nice.
one.
Just
So there's a
white.
couple things. It's not 15. That's rich coming from you. Okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
These are all like Lamana-isms.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
When would I
is
ever say no
definitely
more
white.
Mr. Nice Guy?
I've seen. I've heard it.
I
I've
can
heard
see
it.
that, honestly.
Like the 13-year-old white kid that like got beat up. He's like, that's it. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, that's
I-
rich coming from
Bro,
you.
so
I
this
picture
is
like a suburban dad.
so this is things that white people say that they should say more. Like people should say more of these things.
Okay.
Let's skedaddle.
I've never heard that.
These are all Gumby's dad.
Yeah.
Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
Let me be frank.
Let me be frank. Is definitely white as fuck.
Now listen here, pal.
That's a buddy, Jason.
Buddy. Yeah, that's buddy adjacent.
Cup of Joe. You're
Yeah,
barking up the wrong tree.
I like that
Cup
one.
of Joe is really, really wild.
The last two are really good. How you like them apples? And newsflash, buddy.
I feel like Berkey would say newsflash buddy a lot.
Newsflash, buddy's really good.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, if you hear me say newsflash, buddy, you and I were not on very good terms, for sure.
Newsflash.
It's definitely.
That's rich coming from
that's
you.
rich coming from
That's rich.
What does
Also-
that mean, though? What does that mean exactly?
It means like I can't believe you're saying that.
Yeah.
Like you're not the person. How dare you say that? Basically.
But what does that mean? Like, because he's rich?
no.
It's like call,
it's like a rich,
the
like-
pot calling the kettle black, kind of same
got it.
thing.
You can't use an idiom to describe an idiom. I mean, this
but
kid's.
everyone knows that one.
This is
right?
like my fourth language.
It's like if someone that doesn't go to the gym tells you to go to the gym, and you're like, that's rich coming from you.
Got it. So it doesn't mean rich.
No.
Have you been watching the pod while away?
I was in Dominican Republic. I can't watch pods.
They don't even have Wi-Fi.
They have Wi-Fi, but it comes in and out.
Buffering.
Wi-Fi.
You were popping down there. I explained the little buddy reference where it came from. It's quite endearing. You guys should see it as a sign of friendship and kinship. It was my granddad used to call me his little buddy when I'd come over like 5, 6 years old. He'd be like, "Hey, little buddy. Hey, little buddy."
So wait.
Berkey is your granddaddy.
So in this context, you're like the grandpa?
Yeah.
No, don't take it so literally. It was just
Nah, I think we should take it as literally as possible.
it was a term of endearment.
More
That's
importantly, you are the 5-year-old.
well, yeah, but that's by default.
We're all
It was just a term of endearment.
fucking
He
with
still
you.
called me his little buddy when I was like 20.
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah. Hey.
Little buddy, do you want to pop?
Yeah. That's pretty much what it was.
You can make magic happen.
Yeah, he did make magic.
I
happen.
didn't know what pop was until I met you, honestly.
That's wild. More than half the country calls it pop.
No one in the
No,
one
no,
I
no.
Look, we've been over the
Only by
fucking map.
landmass.
Oh my god.
Only by fucking landmass, because it's a whole bunch of farms and cows in like the middle of America that call it pop.
Yeah, I
That's it.
never heard.
How else do you want to do it?
By
Population.
yes, thank you
Okay,
very much.
well, if we did that, then every fucking president would be a Democrat and everything else would just be whatever California and New York dictates.
Oh.
What do you mean no?
I'm okay with that.
Well, I don't know.
Why are you saying no? New York and California make up like
Yeah,
half
it's like,
the United
it's like
States
New York,
population.
Cali,
No, they
Texas,
don't.
Florida. Like
That's
that's
a
it.
lot.
That's the whole country.
Yeah.
Definitely nowhere near half.
Add in Texas and Florida.
150 million in New York and LA.
And LA and Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Texas-
you only have
okay,
one
sorry,
Chicago left.
New York, California,
Texas votes.
Texas and Florida.
Yeah, Texas votes red.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Florida
little bit
votes.
more.
Dallas and Austin, though.
Yeah.
Well, you know, things been popping this week. The WPT 1100 Prime was absolutely insane. It was supposed to be like a 2 million. It got 5.2 million in the prize pool.
It got 250% of what it was supposed to get.
Dude, it's 700,000 to first place.
711,000.
My 7-Eleven. What a beautiful place. Where's my coffee?
I knew people that tried to register but unregged because they would have gotten a seat when there were like 16 big blinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was day 1C, and I played them in the morning. I read the night before. I busted, and I went directly to go reg again.
Conrad's still echoing. It's saying he has two audio.
Gotta
So-
move those mics pretty far.
No, I don't. It's definitely not that. It's something. Yeah. This is on production, guy.
Yep.
So better yet.
Go ahead, Berkey. So
Oh man. Well, while he figures that out, and before we address the 1100, I guess you all are probably wondering why we're here, as we were supposed to be on set in the Wynn today for the WPT. And you know, there was a bit of a little bit of a confusion, if you will.
what's that term you use?
Kerfuffle. I fucking hate that word, man. I fucking hate that word. Perkins has made
Is
me
that on
hate
the
that word
list?
forever.
Is that on the list of what white people
Kerfuffle?
say?
That should probably be on the list. Kerfuffle is
How
a white-
ironic. Yeah, but basically, like, you know, it's a huge undertaking what they're trying to pull off, and this is their first attempt at it. So it's no surprise that sometimes there are hiccups, and rather than trying to iron everything out at the 11th hour, it just made a lot more sense for us to come here into our studio where we could just fire up a stream right away.
Yeah.
So we are here in-house today. Hopes are we'll have everything corrected for tomorrow morning, and we'll be on set tomorrow and Wednesday. If not, then we'll just be doing our normal show from here.
We saw the set. It was beautiful. by the way.
Unbelievable.
It's so nice.
Man,
Like,
I'm so annoyed. The one thing I wanted to get was a picture of all of us at the table, so I could stop manufacturing these thumbnails and just actually have, like, just actually have a real photo to go off of.
it was nice sitting at that final table, just sitting there, like thinking,
Yeah,
oh, it'd be nice to be here someday.
something.
Someday.
I mean,
With chips in front of me
Well,
in an active tournament.
Well, it wasn't a tournament. I was gonna say I was there. It didn't feel too great at the end.
yeah, that's good job, Andre. You're doing the Lord's work. Did you figure out the echo?
Yeah, it's just fucking Conrad. This idiot. He's by himself and he just brings him in like this.
No way! I moved this back and then I went over there.
But now you're out of the shot.
So are we still echoing?
Yeah.
Man,
Don't know.
I think what actually happened.
What really
was
happened?
See, what you shoulda done
not that they
was-
had any technical issues, but this shit show just wasn't fit for the production. Just like,
Oh yeah.
it was like, you know what, you guys,
Oh, that looks nice.
we
right
didn't
there.
we didn't sign up for this.
All right.
So anyway, you were talking about an 1100, Conrad.
It was popping, man. It completely smashed every record I could even imagine. An 1100, 5.3 million? That's outside WSOP?
Yeah, it's probably one of the 10 biggest 1Ks. How big is? I'm trying to think if there's any 1Ks at the WSOP that get.
Yeah, the monster. Or
They're 1500s.
The millionaire maker.
They're
Sorry.
all 1500s.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They are.
Yeah, but
Right,
it's the
they are.
same.
I mean, it's a comparable prize
Yeah, it
pool.
is
Yeah.
comparable.
But I mean, like, we're talking about 5,500 runners, give or take. So that's.
It was 54. I have the exact number here. 5430.
I'm so glad that it's a 1K and not like a 500 or 600 or any of those things.
They certainly could have.
That's what I'm
could
saying.
not have facilitated it.
I hope other venues realize that like the 500 stuff is just it's too overwhelming to try that.
Well,
Like,
I
1K
think what it
nice.
is that no other place outside of WSOP has the capacity to do a 10,000 plus person tournament, so they all up the price pool.
Yeah, but
up the price
but
point.
in
Rather.
fairness, like I also would argue that WSOP can't handle it either.
Sure.
The tortoise loves the small buy-in tournaments. I like the 300 and the 500s. Trying to you can get a bracelet for that, but this just proves that you don't need to run that small of a buy-in to get giant numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about
Right?
this all the time during
Yeah.
the summer of like how much of a fall off is there both rake and prize pool wise if you just increase the buy-in by 1.5 or 2x, and it's almost certain that there would be no fall off because the difference in player pools between the $500 buy-in and a 1K is negligible, if any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the craziest part about this is like now it's causing some serious buzz around town. Like everyone's talking about this event.
I mean, this is everything that the 5 Diamond was not, right? Like,
okay.
Like I don't, like Christian and I can attest to it more than anybody else because we played it more. But 5 Diamond was always a massive event.
Yeah, it had to.
Where when you were in the room, it was electric. But outside of that, you didn't even fucking know about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No signage, no promotion, nothing. Like literally, it was just the people in the 10K scene knew that it was coming up, and it was always a massive deal once you walked into Bellagio.
Okay.
But anybody else, like people from the East Coast, weren't traveling for it all that much.
Really?
No satellites for it. Like the prelims were dust.
The prelims were like 50 people, 100 people.
Bro,
tops.
they would get like 1,000 runners for the 5 Diamond, and then we run a 5K the day before, like a 5K 6 max, and we get 80 people.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just like,
That's pretty sick.
I mean, there was just nothing at all about that made it a quote unquote festival or anything like that. But we've all been clamoring for something in the winter for so long, where it's like we want something WSOP adjacent.
We
so to
want
speak.
winter camp. That's
Yeah.
what we want.
Yeah.
We just want some winter camp.
Summer
Yeah.
camp, winter camp.
And I think WPT is doing a pretty good job about this.
It's
say.
the winter festival.
Wow. Very nice, Landon.
Well done.
Did you
Very
just
well done.
did you just do that here?
Yeah,
On
of course
set?
I did. I'm wise.
Witty, I think witty is
I am
the word.
wise beyond my years.
Beyond his years.
Quick,
Yeah, fucking
It's
right.
quick.
Like
It's
I've
the
been,
tortoise
I've,
and the
been
hare.
getting, I've been getting a lot quicker recently.
I think obviously if we're assuming that the championship's going to go without a hiccup, but like this has been a massive success, right? Like just massive.
So far, for sure.
Yeah.
for sure, because like
Like
I think
the cash games have been great. The tournaments are great. Like the buzz of this being a thing now is there. Like this is, I think they got more than what they asked for, right? So far.
I think it's 2 to 3x bigger than what they expected so far. Like I don't think they expected.
Well,
these numbers.
this will tell what this week will be what will.
It's like a stress test,
right? Because this is it, right? This is their main event. This is what the whole buildup was for.
I think they're gonna hit the guarantee before 1B closes.
Yeah, I think before 1C.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I remember we speculated earlier in the year, like, oh, they can hit the guarantee. How much they gonna?
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be a sweat.
Right, we thought it was gonna be a sweat. Now, what are we? Are we thinking 20 million?
I stopped thinking it was gonna be a sweat after I saw how many seats were being given away.
Yeah, satellites.
And I'm like, okay, well, it's very unlikely to be a sweat.
Yeah, when I saw the seats given away, I was like, okay, it hits 15 million for sure.
Yeah.
When I saw the 1100, I was like, holy shit, it might hit 25 million.
Yeah. So the satellite that they ran yesterday was a 50-seat guarantee, and it got 110.
108,
seats.
but yeah.
Yeah, like they just got
shit.
double what they expected.
I jokingly said it would triple. And I was saying that like as a sheer joke.
Yeah, and it doubled.
And honestly, too, the 25K actually did numbers where I saw on Twitter D-Negs and Chance had a bet where D-Negs took the under on 100
It was a good line.
entries, and it got 103.
Wow.
108 or something.
But it was a mass
late reg
registration at Max Late Reg.
Yep.
It had like 92 going into Max Late Reg.
Wow, 16. Gee.
Very unlucky of him. Very unlucky for
That's
D-Negs.
the run.
Yeah.
Fucking Osmus had to fire that fourth bullet.
I wonder how many like entries, like would it still beat the guarantee if they didn't give all the seats away? Like let's say they gave away around 500 seats.
Well,
so if it got 2,000 entries.
Yeah, but you can't do it that way because the seat giveaways are bringing in the buzz, which is now bringing in other people. Right. So it's kind of like a Ponzi.
Also,
I said this once. I said it 1,000 times. MTTs are literally a Ponzi where you try to get all the money and then you keep losing, but one time you win and you give all the money back.
Yeah,
Acupuncture.
Nice. The thing is too, like they've given away a ton of seats, but like I think Global only gave away somewhere between 50 and 100 seats in those satellites, which sounds like a ton, but at the end of the day, it's only $1 million.
Right.
Yeah, but
right?
for a $10,000 buy-in, that's a lot.
No, I understand, but it's not even 10%.
All right, hold on. If I told you at WPT 5 Diamond there was 100 satellite winners,
No,
you would be like, this is crazy.
Of course. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is like I think in our minds we're believing this to be like 25% satellite winners.
Right. No, of course.
But it's actually more
Maybe
like
5, if they get
it'll be
2,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, no, probably closer to 10 because they gave away another 100 seats yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
Gave away seats
They probably
yesterday.
gave another 100 seats away to the club WPT.
Yeah.
Other poker stops had
Total,
Florida
yeah.
had some giveaways.
Right.
Like
Total, you're looking at like maybe 300,
Maybe 300, 350,
Yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood. So like, yeah, roughly 15% of the prize pool is just like donated money from the sponsor,
pretty sick.
which is worth a lot. But it's
I mean,
they're gonna smash it.
They recoup it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're gonna smash. Like I don't think that we're gonna see them just squeak by 16 million in the prize pool.
Do you think it's going to be over 20 million?
I think it's I think like 18.5 is a good line.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we see 20.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It does depend though, because remember, there's no rebuys on the same day. Right. So
shit.
that does bring in the numbers down.
Max 3 bullets per
So
anybody.
it's maximum 3 bullets. So you don't get the Daniel Negreanu going all in blind every hand.
But you don't need it because you have 100 satellite or
I
300
agree.
satellite winners.
Do we think that their re-entry protocol is good?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, 100%.
I think
Why?
it's better. I think it's just better for the ecosystem that it's something like that.
Yep.
Because having pros fire unlimited is really bad for people that are not pros. Because it's hard to bust.
It especially hurts the satellite winners.
Yeah, it's hard to bust, the best players in the world 12 times.
It's not even just that. It's that there's going to be a greater concentration now of good players at your table when you are a Sati winner, right? Like when good players bust and they can't re-enter, they're gone, and you're not going to see them again in that flight.
It makes it more prestigious in a way.
I think so.
You know what I mean? Because
I agree with that.
If you look at the WSOP main event, I mean you're one and done, right? So that is like, hey, you get your one shot. And here I understand, they're putting up a huge guarantee, so you want to have some sort of re-entry system, but they're not overdoing it. It's
I like it.
chances.
I
It's
like
great.
it.
I
Do you
it's great.
think that the main would lose its prestige if it wasn't a freeze out?
Yes.
No, I think it would lose its numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
I
get
think
less
that,
entries.
I think it's not good.
Well, it might maintain the entries because of the re-entries, but the field would become significantly tougher.
What if it was one per flight?
I still think the same thing. That's
okay.
still 4
It's
entries.
just as bad.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's a lot. And I think like the reason why this works so well is because it's an actual festival. So there's other stuff to play. There's a 6 max after the main. There's a ladies event championship that will be televised. The Prime is televised. Like they're doing a lot to put a big emphasis on prelims and postlims as well, which now makes it worth traveling. And you know, the 25K high roller is today. Like there are all these other events that are worth traveling for outside of the main. I think the big issue that generally happens on these tour stops that is a problem for people and why unlimited reentry is so necessary is that it's the only event worth playing.
There's nothing else to do.
Right, like Florida does a great job of building out a prelim schedule, but there's such a big disparity between the prelims and the main as far as like the prize pools you're vying for, the buy-ins and all that other stuff.
Right.
The postlims are actually better, generally speaking, because that's where the 25K will happen, the 5K turbo, the 10K turbo.
And even
shit
in
like
those, like the price point there isn't that big of a deal, right?
Right.
For like, and it's a WPT where it's kind of known. Okay, you get like a reentry, and then
Yeah.
for their 5K they have that one reentry per flight, so they also cap it in that way. But at the same time, you're not playing a 10K with unlimited reentry where you get people swarm. That is interesting. Like I never really thought about it that way, but I guess it makes sense that less reentries are actually better when it comes to bigger
For
situations.
sure for the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why 10Ks fell by the wayside, and a lot of it has
And
to
it's
do with
because of it was a
re-entry.
10K reentry.
Right. People don't want to try to grind satellites just to get one shot.
Cream rises to the top way quicker.
Yeah,
that way.
for sure.
Wow.
There are a lot of notables still in this field. I think Steven Song is second in chips.
Steven and Mike, baby, roommates.
Wait,
Mike
Mike.
Rosita.
Rosita.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's top 10 in chips, and then our one and only Matt Hunt.
Let's
Still
go.
in
Let's
that
go.
field.
Let's go, Hunt. Come on.
Hunt out there, he's rocking about an average stack at 1.8 million. 50 remain, or 50-ish remain.
55?
55 remain. First place, $711,000.
My
Let's
Bring it
go.
home,
700?
Mr. Hunt.
Let's
Let's
go,
go,
Hunt.
baby.
It's funny because if he wins this thing, he's going to have so many people pouring in wanting coaching. He's probably just not going to want to do it anymore.
I was gonna, yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
coach
that is a
after
bitch
you
catch 22.
What?
You don't coach after you get 700.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I hope he doesn't make
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
I hope he doesn't make so much that he doesn't want to do videos.
I know.
He'll still do videos.
do
like
videos.
fucking
Yeah. He's that guy.
Sauce still makes videos. He's a
Yeah.
multimillionaire.
That's true.
Is it? Yeah. Besides the WSOP, is this tournament going to be the biggest like amount of buy-ins you can win for first in a 1K?
That's what we were trying to
the
debate
millionaire
earlier.
maker.
No,
But
it's
I'm saying,
15.
I'm
It's
saying besides
1500.
WSOP.
Okay, let's make something clear.
Like an-
a 1500 is a 1K.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's double. What do you mean?
But Christian's right though. Even if you just compare it by number of buy-ins, the Millie Maker is like 1,000
Yeah.
buy-ins to first.
I was just talking outside of WSOP because of course WSOP still has those numbers. Like,
outside
unlocked.
for sure.
I think
Well,
outside.
yeah,
Nothing
it's
else
not even
compares.
close.
There isn't anything else remotely
It's like
close.
MSPT and then that's about it.
MSPT's like
200,
half of
200,
it,
250.
maybe a third of this.
It's like 250 for first for the biggest one.
maybe 300. Yeah.
All the 1100s in Florida have been like 250 max
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty
Not
capped.
even getting that big.
It's very, very difficult to get 5,000 entries.
It is amazing how
It's hard
they
to
did that.
facilitate.
Yeah, of course.
They needed more room. Remember, it was a madhouse.
Yeah.
But they did a pretty damn good job, if you ask me. Like,
Well,
the
there-
registration line was quick. Like,
Yeah.
there was no registration line at all.
That's because everybody was in an alternate line.
Sure, that's fine. But like,
I
you know,
will say that they handled it as good as they can for the overflow.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Like they did a tweet, and a lot of rooms around town do this very well. But they use social media to basically tell you when the block of alternates were being called,
Yep.
which I think is really good.
Yeah, Venetian used to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal that people got in super late. You kind of know what you're signing up for at that
Yeah.
that point.
and they closed registration when you had 30 big blinds. So, you know, when you got in, you probably like have 15 to 20,
Yeah.
which is normal. play
Yeah, so
registration.
that might be something people don't know. They closed registration earlier on day 1C.
Oh my! It could have got
than
so
the
many
other
more
flights.
entries.
So they closed it at 6:30 instead of, or 6 o'clock instead of 7:30.
Wait, no.
Okay,
they
so
all closed at 4:30.
they all closed at the end of level 6, which
Yeah,
is
they
before
all
dinner
closed
break.
at 4:30.
But they closed registration very early, right? Because normally for situations in tournaments like this, you can max late register after dinner break. But for this one, it was level 6 instead of at the end of level 9.
I see. That makes
so
sense.
this could have gotten way more entries as well.
That is amazing. Now that I really think about it, They closed Reds at level 6.
Yeah.
And it got 5,300 runners.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
wild.
so like, what I'm thinking is like, in the next like year, 2 years, what does this thing grow to be?
They have more
At that
space.
price point,
My God.
so here's the thing that's very weird for the poker space right now. There's a huge disparity at the price point levels, right? Because it's this weird conundrum where in the live realm, it's kind of like daily fantasy, where no matter how good you are, no matter how rich you are, certain events, regardless of price point, will just draw you out, right? And like this Prime is flirting with that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's a big gap between the 1K price point, the 3K price point. And there's another big jump from like 3K to 5K plus. And at that 1K price point, you're still dealing a lot with entry level players. So it's not so high that people who are brand new to tournament poker won't seek the ones with high value.
Yeah.
Like the same way that I play 25Ks, right? Like I play the Florida ones because they get 130 runners and they're super soft, but I don't play 25Ks.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same for a lot of people whose average buy-in is like $300. They don't play 1100s often, but they'll always play the marquee 1100.
But this is like their main event.
Right. And if you can facilitate the space and house the dealers and tables necessary to run a massive flight, you can see this happening anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like kudos to Wynn and WPT for getting it off and dealing with the madhouse. And also, orchestrating an entire series around it.
Yep.
Because like outside of maybe Borgata, it would be very difficult to make this your staple event, your marquee event, just like 1100 that was like 6 flights or whatever, because now you're not going to get everybody necessarily. You're going to get a lot more regional type stuff.
Yeah.
But if you can put events together, like specifically just WPT in general, if they started to replicate this formula around the country, there's like 5 or 6 stops.
Well, if they do this at Borgata, it'll be a massive success.
smash.
Borgata, Sherpa.
Hold on, WPT is not doing Borgata, right?
Well,
Not
they used to.
right, but they're not right now.
I know. I'm saying
they,
but, like,
they may come back, but currently speaking,
right. But
they're not.
Borgata's like dead
So,
right now.
but if
Yeah.
what they
have a
need
big
to
event in
do
January,
is
yeah.
like try to promote this for Florida. To do something like this for Florida, because the Florida 1K, it's been getting like, I don't know, 200K
So
for first.
WPT does have some side events for when they do run WPT mains.
Yeah, but it comes down to the house. The Wynn put on the guarantee, not WPT.
Yeah.
Right.
So they were the ones taking the risk of making a $2 million guarantee.
They just kind of used WPT as
Correct.
well.
And if you recall,
mutually.
like Florida post pandemic was so fucking oversold whenever it came to housing players that they had alternates that would wait like 5 to 6 hours.
Dude, it was crazy.
And that was for the main.
Yeah.
Like the prelims were so much worse.
That was
you were
the
getting
first
shut
one.
out.
That was the first one right
The
after
first
COVID.
April right
Yeah,
after
okay.
COVID, yeah. So like the prelims, you were just like straight getting shut out. They probably could have doubled their prize pools, but just couldn't facilitate it, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have enough workers yet. They didn't have enough table space, whatever.
That happened at the Wynn on day 1B, actually. They had so many alternates that they said, if you're over alternate number X, like we can't house. Yeah, we can't house. Like we can't house.
Come get a refund and
Come
go
get a
home.
refund or play 1C or whatever. Like
Yeah.
they just did not have enough space. And moving forward, they're gonna have more space and try to like,
Yeah,
get more
so
ballrooms and such.
it's a very sensitive thing. But to your question, I think that all of the growth lies within this sort of price point and building festivals around that price
1Ks
point.
The
and
1Ks?
2Ks.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not making it the feature event,
Oh, I see.
but making it the event that leads to overflow into the main.
It's
Right?
the
With
opener, basically.
Yeah, like with the name, like Prime.
Yeah.
Like Prime and a nice guarantee on it.
Well, what they also did that was super sharp was they took the exact same price point after day one had ended and 75, 80, 90% of the field, whatever, was gone. They took that same price point the very next day and said, here's your chance to get into the main event.
Yep.
And they
That's so
blew it out of the
smart.
water.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? Like they just snapped, get
smart,
1,500
right.
people to show up for a 1K
They're already
satellite.
there.
Oh, 1K satellite.
Yeah.
Man, this shit is
1,200
popping.
people show up for a 1K satellite.
And that's because,
unheard of.
And that's because the main event is so good itself.
You
right?
can just
It's
make your own
15 million
tournament out of
guarantee
it.
on that.
Let me ask you, what do you, the big main event satellites look like for WSOP?
Dust.
I honestly don't
Right?
know.
Why does the WSOP
They're
not
fucking
run one of
terrible.
those
I've never
things?
played one.
At the actual series itself, they do a good job of running megas. They run 501K megas towards the end of the series.
They do, but nothing.
they're not.
doesn't
I know
get
they run-
like
I know
this.
they
Not 100 seats, but like we're talking
Yeah.
like 10 to 30 seats.
I think if they actually threw a guarantee on it, the way WPT
Yeah,
had,
100%.
because WPT had been talking
100%.
about this for a little bit.
They did the same thing for the main event.
But the difference is that the WPT guaranteed their main, and therefore heavily incentivized to get satellite winners in.
Right.
And B, this is their first iteration. Right. So again, there's just like a lot of central focus in building this event and making it as marquee and as special as possible. WSOP is a different thing, man. The brand carries itself, right? Like recreationals who would otherwise need the satellite into a 10K save up all year to play that event. True. So it's a little bit different. Like they offer these megas, but you know, they're rake traps, they're fast, they're not great for most people who take poker seriously. Yeah. They're great for recreationals,
but like,
which then makes it good for somebody who takes poker seriously.
Maybe they could have like a special satellite. Like I know they run all these megas, but just have one special satellite. Where
I think that's what they try to do with their Sunday scramble.
Yeah, they have a 50 seat guarantee online.
Yeah.
It's 25 seats.
Or 25 seats.
But yeah, but I'm saying if you do if you say you're going to do a live one, you're going to guarantee 100 seats. They're going to get 200.
Right, but they don't want to do that. That's not good for them. If they get 2,500 runners for a 1K satellite, that's now 40 tables being taken up during a time where they're probably running comparable events that are housing
the mini main or whatever is still going and all that stuff.
There's a bunch of events still going at the time.
The main just also crushes it all.
That's what I mean. Like they already struggle with like making sure it's not 10-handed.
I like this sort of little rivalry that's brewing, you know, like
so good for poker.
It's like this little. I feel it in the air, like where they're just like, bro, we're coming for your head, WSOP. Like we're coming for your head.
The fact that we're sitting here talking about it, like comparing the two, is just sick to me.
It's nice.
Well, you guys haven't been around long enough, but like pre-Black Friday was.
I don't remember WPT being like this.
Bro, it was massive.
I know it was like, but
it was different. It was different.
I heard it though. I didn't experience it.
Yeah,
so both brands were very different pre-Black Friday. The amount of prestige that was attached to it, like even having the ability to play in either was like such an honor, right? I remember when Lamanna won his way into his first WPT at Foxwoods. It was a 10K buy-in. And like we were all just like in awe. It was like 2005, right? So like most of us only had 10 or 20,000.
Right.
And he won his way into this event. I remember we went to Fallsview. They ran their first WPT there. It was a $500 Canadian buy-in. So it wasn't even expensive. And we spent the whole fucking week trying to satellite into this thing. I got in like last minute. I think Brent and I were chopping the satellite action. I remember. I think I spent like $4,500 to get into a 5K.
Only you did it.
Yeah, only to bust like day one versus Mr. Smokey.
I mean, I remember
Steve Billarakis. Big shout out to the OG.
The big WPT stuff was the Shooting Stars.
Shooting Stars
that was huge, right? I remember that being huge. I remember the one that your friend won. He's Indian. I forget his name. Mo.
Yeah.
Mo won a bunch. Well, he won EPT Paris. He won WPT.
Right, but he won like a WPT for like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So that was that LAPC or
no?
Or was it 5 Diamond?
Might have been 5 Diamond.
Yeah. So it was huge, but it was like 1 point something.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing is like going back to what I was saying, pre-Black Friday with all this prestige, a lot of the prestige came from the buy-in, right? So all of these, let's call it the first 10 to 12 seasons of WPT, everything was a 10K main. Everything, right? It was a 10K main freeze out.
Right.
And that was it. And they were getting like, 500 runners, maybe 600, 2/3 of which were like the most well-named pros on the tour / young internet up and comers. Yeah. Right. And everybody was fucking American back then because online poker was, quasi legal and the American market was just bolstering. Right. And the EPT was huge in Europe. So like none of them had any reason to travel. It was honestly like playing like the entire WPT tour back then was like playing Choctaw now, where it was just like a bunch of washed, well-known people and then a bunch of like young up-and-comers that are kind of on the grind, but this is too big for them, like they found their way in. So I think what ended up happening was like post-Black Friday plus the introduction of re-entry just changed the landscape tremendously. And what happened was a lot of you have to remember there were no mid-stake tours back then. Right, local casinos would run like 500s and 1Ks, and like that was the shit that we would play. We'd go play all the Seneca Niagara stuff and Turning Stone and whatever. But like as far as the tour went, it didn't exist. There was no MSPT. There was no Heartland. Yeah, there was none of this stuff that was catering to buy-ins of 3K and below. And even the WSOP The smallest buy-in was 1,500, and that was the least amount of events that they ran.
Where did it go wrong?
Well, not that it went wrong, but it was that somebody had the awareness. Mainly, I think Heartland Poker Tour probably was the first one to understand that there were a lot of people being underserved. That, you know, tournament poker as a profession was viable, right? So before it was, you ran a major to bring people into the cash room, and cash would just pop up. I would travel to all these WPT stops just to play 5-10 to
Bro,
limit.
I'm getting text messages that like the list at the Wynn
3 hours
are like hundreds deep.
Yeah.
That room is absurdly
Like you just can't
right now.
you have to like show up at 10 a.m. to play cash game. It's like the World Series again.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's like the summer.
It's honestly it's bigger because it's centrally located to one spot. So like, you know, during the summer,
no, Bellagio's getting overflow of cash a lot too. Though.
Yeah, but not like that. You're not.
What I'm saying.
You're
Like,
not gonna get. That's what I'm saying. Is like during the summer, like everybody's slammed because everybody's running events.
Yeah.
Right. So like they're all taking away cash tables to run events.
No, Bellagio's slammed. There's no events there.
Only place though. Right. Everybody else is like running events, which is taking away cash tables. So like all of the lists are just fucking slammed.
Bellagio is actually losing their tournaments.
Right. But like right now, it's centrally located to the Wynn. So and mind you, they're not even taking any cash tables out. Right. So like they're just getting that much traffic. Yeah. Nobody's anywhere else. So if you're in town, you're at the Wynn.
There was like 4, 5, 10 games running, and I was looking at all of them, and I was like, I would sit down in all of these games. Like they were all looked really good.
Yeah, because you have to remember, man, like this is such a throwback event to like how festivals used to be in the past. Like if you're a cash player, or if you're just like a 1K MTT grinder who has 5 days off prior to playing 1C of the main, you're just out there, man. You're trying to win your buy-in. You're trying to satellite that way. Like, you know, when we used to go to Turning Stone, I would pull all-nighters playing like 2-5, 5-10 if the game was good, and then I'd sleep for a couple hours, and by noon, which, by the way, there was no late reg back then, so like you were there fucking on time. At noon, you're playing like a 2-day event where, you know, it's going to get a few hundred runners. First place is going to be like 80,000, which is so meaningful, and you know, you're just going to grind that out. And if you bust, you're going to head right back to the fucking cash tables because time was so precious to you, right? Like you're traveling for this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, for me, this is all really new because like I've literally haven't been to a series, something like this outside of maybe WSOP a year and a half ago. That was my first one. So like I'd never been to like a.
No, you've been to Borgata. It's similar.
No, never for like a series. I would literally go. I think I played like one event at Borgata ever.
Oh, like event 1.
Yeah, like and whatever. But like I've never seen so much hype and
like, it's great. It's great. But I want to talk a little bit about this sort of WPT resurgence, like because when I first entered, sort of being a fan of the game and like watching all the streams and stuff, they were doing the Alpha 8.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
I tried to buy a piece of Matt Glanson that on Twitter.
Wow,
like,
what a mistake.
So long ago. He got 7.
Fuck that guy. So, he's going to be my new little buddy too.
I remember the Alpha 8, but I don't think that was like a success for them, in my opinion, at the time. I feel like I remember...
It might have been a little too early.
Right. They were trying to compete because we saw all the Germans at the time. You know, it was... Phil.
I don't know, man.
It was.
If you go back and watch them, they really put all the talent at that time on display.
Yeah,
like, it was the Chewies, it was the Merciers, it was the Philboards, the Germans
conglomerate.
Right. It was all like pre-Fedor, and then PokerGo kind of picked up where they left off once the Alpha 8.
So maybe it was one of those where it was just too. It was a great idea, but too early for its time.
Oh, I think it was a great idea, but it wasn't a destination event like they thought it would be. So they tried to run one in St. Kitts. They got like 6 people. Right? Because like I think people don't understand how much of an inconvenience it is to travel, even if it's to a nice destination, right? Similar to like destination weddings. Like, oh yeah, we're getting married in Cabo. It's like, yo, that sounds sick for you.
Right. I love that for you.
But like, it's such a fucking inconvenience to me. You know, it'd be a lot better if you just got married in my backyard where I can get into an Uber and find my way there. And it was kind of the same way with the Alpha 8. Like they did one, I think, in Africa. They got like no runners.
It's like, like what are we traveling?
It also sounds hard to get like cash these places.
I mean, you know, you assume that they're wiring and stuff like that, but you're right in the sense that all of the activities that would take place around a high roller that would incentivize people to go can't happen now.
Yeah.
You can't run like $1 million cash games because you're right. Like it's hard to facilitate like just moving infinite money place to place to place.
Yeah.
This is such a good place, though, right? Let's talk about those cash games that have been going on this week. Like, this is such a good place to have those cash games, right? Like, so I was tuning into some of the streams, and I was just like, oh my god, they're playing 500 1,000, and like they actually picked like the perfect name, right? It was like Rail Heaven, like the return of Rail Heaven. For those of you that don't know Rail Heaven, it was like everyone would tune in online when it was like Dwan and Guy and Ivy and Gus Hansen, and we would all just watch them on full tilt. Like, we're just like railbirds. Mm-hmm. So that's where the name comes from. And now it's like the resurgence of Rail Heaven, but it's a different version because we're watching it on live on TV. So what do we think about that? What do we think about the return of Rail Heaven?
More high stakes cash games are good. Yeah, like more things that are just besides that aren't even paywalled, right? Like high stakes poker is paywalled. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that's high stakes. Well, Bike and Hustler have like their streams too, and those streams do numbers, right? And then this stream also did relatively well.
Yeah,
and
I think I saw it was like 2 a.m. maybe East Coast, and it had like 2,000 people, and I'm like, that's a lot for 2 a.m. East Coast Sunday night after football.
That's only
like
it was wild.
There's something to talk about there because there's just this thing that I'm realizing now that I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And before I was just like leaving it. There was no comparison. There was no apples to apples anymore. So it's like I just trusted that everything made sense and people were watching Hustler at this rate. But WPT just ran 4 highly produced cash games over the last 4 days, right? They ran a vlogger game, a ladies game, and then 2 very high stake nosebleeds games. Prior to that, Live at the Bike ran 2 nosebleeds game, all being 500 1K 2K ish, right?
Adjacent.
Yeah, close, something in that neighborhood, right? If you look at like the average numbers for a Wednesday on Hustler, where they're just playing like 10 20 40 or the 5-5 ante game or whatever. The average numbers for that is like 3,500 to 5K concurrent, right? Mm-hmm. That was peak viewership for a 1K, 2K game between both the Bike and WPT. WPT has 400,000 subscribers. Something doesn't add up, right? They have double the amount of subscribers. They're playing 1,000x the stakes, and nobody's fucking watching. And when I say nobody, I just mean relatively speaking. 3,500 concurrent is a nice fucking number.
Yeah, it's a great number, but it's just like 25% of what Hustler's doing, which makes no fucking sense.
Right, and the same lineup shows up to Hustler, and it's somehow 20,000 viewers.
It's production, like in
well,
the production.
No, it's consistency. Like
consistency helps for sure.
Like they have a stream 5 days a week that they have a loyal fan base. It's like growing a YouTube channel, right? You drop, and even if another YouTube has a better video than you, your video is going to do better because you have your fan base.
But that's the thing that I'm saying is that WPT, I would agree with you with Bike because they're comparable in size and Bike has kind of been dark for a while.
Right, but WPT firing up a random cash game, like it's not, I don't want to say random. It's they're not used to seeing that on that channel. So it's
I mean, maybe like the algo doesn't recommend it as much.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know exactly how the algorithm works, but also I know that at whatever time, 8 p.m. or something Pacific, I know that there's always going to be a poker game on the Hustler channel, right? So if you're a poker fan, that's where you're going to go every day.
But if you're a poker fan, you see what's going on at WPT. You see that they're having a huge game. Like there's just like you do,
but you have to remember how many casuals there are that are not in this right? They're just like they want to watch Billy on Monday because that's their favorite player. Because they've watched him every Monday or whatever.
one of my major KPIs when I'm doing a lot of YouTube stuff is making sure that people that are watching one thing are going to watch another thing. It says like people that watch this will also watch, and then it'll showcase your video.
Right.
And then also there's another algorithm in there that has like featured or your preferred or whatever it is. So there's 2 major algorithms that we try to hit when we're ever doing YouTube. Something definitely doesn't add up because I also see this with a lot of the Texas streams. Mm-hmm. Some of the Texas streams blow up like crazy.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think you're right in some respects, and I think it's an amalgamation of different things. But yes, the consistency will help. If you have consistency on YouTube, you're gonna hit the whatever it is, the shelf, I think they call it, the shelf, which is basically the featured promoted video. And yeah, you're going to get more people and you're going to get more casuals. But I think there's some fuckery going around too, right? Like in early Twitch days, especially in StarCraft, botting was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it got found out that the majority, not the majority, but a lot of people that were big on Twitch that nobody understood why they were big, they were botting. They had fake viewers.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we'll never know, but the easiest way for us to find out is if we had access to like their KPIs and RPMs, or sorry, KPMs and RPMs. If those numbers are low, it's because obviously the majority of the audience isn't able to actually be engaged with.
A lot of times you can check it out by demographics. I've seen some of the demographics before where it's like all from like the Philippines and Vietnam. You know, that's where you would see a lot of the botting go down. So
for gaming, that's sharp because like that kind of looks like it blends in a little bit.
It's,
you know what I mean?
It's so crazy. I'm looking at like just I've been scrolling through different WPT, Hustler, Bike, just looking at different live streams and different stakes, and as well as this viewership. And some stuff just gets absolutely blown up, and it's almost the same thing. Like I remember when I played the 2-4 on WPT for WPT last year.
Yeah.
I played 2 days. One of those streams only got 57K views. The other stream got 606K views.
Was it with or without Ivy?
Both didn't have Ivy. Durr was on both days.
Persons?
But the title was Tom Dwan and Jason Kuhn for the better one, and I was in the second one, the title for the lower viewed one.
Sure.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's very like dependent based off of stakes, because looking at the WPT from the past 4 days, the higher stake streams, like the Rail Heaven streams, have done 6 figures. Like the stream 2 days ago has already 115K views. The stream from yesterday already has 50K. And then when you scroll down to like the ladies game, when you scroll down to the vloggers game, it's at like 15K max.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They only had like 400 or 500 concurrent. Right. So like their concurrent audience is similar to our podcast concurrent audience, whereas like, you know, the high stakes is 7 to 8x that. I guess I'm just kind of like surprised because a game of that magnitude with, you know, on day one, names like Ivy, names like Person, people who really draw in eyeballs when they go to other streams, I would have expected it to be maybe not hitting peak concurrency similar to like what we've seen, but like challenging it.
Right, didn't really change.
I also think like we knew that these cash games were going on, but I also didn't know a lot about the nosebleed, like who was going to play the nosebleed games.
Sure.
I didn't know, like I knew there was going to be a vlogger game. I actually knew more about the vlogger game than I knew about the high stakes game.
Well, that makes sense because those lineups are less sensitive. For anybody who's tried to ever organize a high stakes game, like it's an ever changing.
Right, but you can always say like, we're going to have a 200-400 game for sure with like your favorite guys, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure they did. Like, I'm sure. I'm just saying, like, personally, me trying to follow along, I knew that the vlogger game was going. And maybe it helps because the vloggers were promoting it themselves too.
Right. But that's the other thing I'm kind of saying too, is that like, and again, this has nothing to do with WPT. It's more so.
Oh, you're just saying that the way the landscape is filling out right now.
Yes. Yeah. Just the whole streaming landscape. It's like, it seems sharp to use vloggers as self-promotion tools to amplify a product like that. And like, we've seen this as well with Poker Out Loud. It just doesn't have the same algorithmic effect that you would expect it to, right? Like whether it's because you're putting out a different product than they're accustomed to seeing, or
I think it is that.
I think for us it's that to some degree. I think it's probably less so true of WPT because like sure they don't really run a ton of live streams, but they do run live streamed poker, right? Like almost all of their videos are actual just, you know, past streams. So it's not like as if the content itself is changing all that much.
Speaking of like the viewing of it, what do you think about like the set and stuff like that, Andre?
I mean, I know you guys touched on it a little bit. The set is obviously gorgeous. Sharehand, I think, is the absolute gold standard of modern day production inside of poker.
And Sharehand is the production company.
Sharehand is the production company.
Have you heard of Pigtails?
I haven't. No, but Sharehand just kills it. And I know from being on Triton set, this is their I'm not going to say simplified because obviously it's still really freaking nice. But Triton has a much better set than this. And this set is amazing. This set is much better than the Run It Up set, for example, or our equipment or whatever. I like the angles that they use. I love the cameras that they use. Like they just kill it.
They had some really good angles actually when I was watching some of the cash games. Their angles were nice, and I thought obviously the
something about the set design, lighting, the platform aspect of it. Something about it is really, really appealing to the eye.
It's so comfortable.
It's the blue calming
kind of, but like I hate that
contrast to the red.
The irony though is I hate that with like the Thunderdome. I hate the blue. It's so oversaturated, right? Like the audience members turn blue or whatnot. Like it always feels overdone to me. But yeah, something about this simple backdrop with the WPT logo.
That's the other thing. This set is not anything super fancy. Like it costed a lot more money for the WSOP set than for this one.
Yeah.
But this one's just like nice, intimate. I can feel like, when we were all sitting down there together, it felt nice.
Yeah,
like,
there's a certain elegance to the table, I think, too. Like the white chairs.
That's what I said. When I was sitting there, it's just like, man, I got
something about it feels like very classy.
Tables. Yeah.
Right. Like as a viewer, the experience that I get is it feels like
a lot
very well
similar.
done.
Like it's nice. You played Bellagio back. I mean, sorry, not Bellagio. The Wynn back room.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, where it's like it feels really nice. Where it's like it's just a nice place. Like it doesn't feel like overdone. It's simple, but it's nice.
Comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, like what Christian's. Yeah. Wait, are you talking about in the poker room or
in the poker room?
Yeah. Oh, okay. There's.
I know the other room too.
Yeah, it's like the high stakes back, right?
Yeah, by the. I know.
That's like particularly special. It's like playing in a salon.
Yeah, but that one's. You don't get that one unless you're with. Unless you're.
That's super nice.
There are two things.
That one is like most people don't even know that exists.
I was gonna say subtle flex.
I didn't even know it existed. I had to ask for like directions. They're like, oh, it's in the high roller room. I'm like, you think I know where that's at?
I know where it is. It is in the back of the back.
That's the secret room.
Yeah, that's the secret room.
So there are two things that I wish they adjusted, but I think this might be preference. I wish the table was a little bit bigger. Bigger.
Most production houses prefer it small. For the sake of this is true of PokerGo too. Like the table's very small, and it's because at least for them in their production house, they have like full studio set up with full TV cameras and whatnot. Like on I want to call it a boom, but that's not right.
Jib.
A jib, yeah. So they have like a full mechanical jib and whatnot. So they want everybody to be in a semicircle rather than in a full 9-to-1 type of setting. And they want people to be packed. Like they want the tight shots.
But they don't do that for WPT.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying
they
like,
go 1 to 9 standard.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I like it a little bit bigger for their set in particular is if you notice, their cameras are actually very low.
Yeah.
So you always have.
I think I like
shots.
that.
I like it a lot too.
Yeah,
I love the shots.
I love that because now it's like, oh, this is how I would normally see them if I was there.
You're right. I hate. The more that I think about it, and maybe this is actually the big differential between Live at the Bike and everybody else.
Yes.
I hate that downward angle shot.
We're so sick of it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, we're actually at the table. We're actually there. But we're behind a player. And what I would like is if we had a little bit more room, there wouldn't be so much overlap where I'm getting someone's shoulder and then someone's in between me and Conrad.
It does kind of set the space though, unless you're talking about like true tight shots. Right? Because you kind of want to know that they're at the table together type of thing. Like whenever you do interviews, you kind of do over the left shoulder type thing.
But look, there are 3 major things that I tell my TDs to always focus on. Number 1 is going to be the face. Number 2 is the hands. And number 3 is the chips. We always have to try to either hyper focus on like 1 or 2 of them or have all 3 of them in shot.
Face, hands, chips.
Face, hands, chip. Because they, they say the most, right? Sometimes your throat, of course, but that's kind of face area.
Yeah.
And there's some shots where there are people and they cover the chips and hands and you can see their face. So I'd like a little bit more room for that. The second thing, I think we talked about it a little bit, is the audio. It's not a problem. I think it's a preference choice, but they purposely took the bass out of the audio of the table so that the commentators could be heard really well. And I wish there was a way when commentators aren't speaking where commentators can just push up the bass and we can hear the fullness of that table.
I will say, not to speak for Henry, but it's a really tough gig to be like, it's almost impossible to ask the commentators to control the audio. right? So those levels almost have to be controlled behind the scenes. And whenever now you're asking a third party to do it, you don't know when the commentators are going to speak. And it just becomes like such a fucking nightmare.
Let me ask you a question. I'm really curious. How do they wash out all the background noise in that huge room?
Well, that's partly how. By taking the lows out.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's why you don't hear chips too, I think.
Well, no, you can gate certain amounts of volume. So if everything that's below a certain
Frequency,
you can set it a low decibel. Anything below that, you just say, okay, get rid of that completely.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it can be done like that. I don't know. I think that's what audio engineers are for.
Yeah, I mean, eliminating the chip shuffling is so critical, and it's one of those things where you don't understand how important it is until you watch a stream that doesn't eliminate it.
That's what I think the Hustler does well. Is their sound's really good, and it's like when you compare it to the other streams, sometimes like you kind of notice that their sound is a little better. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone's like trying to put their best foot forward right now, and it's good to see actually. Like I see like the bike is stepping up, like they're getting bigger games. They've upgraded the production. I saw that they changed the rail to white, which actually makes it nicer because it before it was black, before it was red. Now they changed it to white, which is nice. It contrasts the colors a little bit better. It's not as dark. Hustler's still doing their thing. The WPT's coming up. They're doing their thing. I saw Rounders is like trying to do their thing. Everyone's stepping up their game, and it's really cool. I mean, I it's good to be a cash player nowadays.
It's
I mean, it's better to be a tournament player. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's always been better to be a tournament player, but things are okay,
Right.
Yeah, you see, they changed the rail to white, which I think is much better. Like it's much better now.
Yeah,
like the black. The black was not. That wasn't the move. The black was not the move.
Well, I don't think it's white, man.
I know. I'm just saying.
I honestly like the white. Same reason why I like the white chairs on.
Go back to that guapo. Look at how washed out, or not washed out, like how bright the white comes out.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
big problem.
on the wide, yeah, it doesn't look super great.
in the tight too.
Can we get rid of this shot?
I think even in the tight shot, I think it looks good. I like the white.
Man, it
I think it looks nice.
it's burning my eyes.
Yeah, it's piercing. It's very piercing.
I like it because most of the players dress in dark and they need something to contrast themselves. Like I purposely never wear black whenever I go on the show because it's so dark behind. You just you blend.
That makes sense. Oh, you just blend into the wall?
Yeah. Like I noticed it a few times where I wore like a dark hoodie and it's just like, oh man, this is just like my face on a floating body.
That's kind of
great. It's like brutal.
Oh no.
It is time. Played this week on the WPT live stream, and it was YoH found a fold with aces on a turn versus a lead. I don't understand what happened in this hand, honestly.
Landon, tell us.
Landon, please talk me through this, please.
You're flabbergasted.
I really am.
Yeah, Landon has been down bad since like days. He's like,
I didn't even get the turn. There was a turn lead. There was a can you help me, please, Landon?
No.
No.
So what happened here, Landon?
We're about under the gun 2 versus cutoff.
This disastrous of a night.
Go call
Round quickly.
So
ultimate cool.
we can pause it for a second. And I guess because now they're playing 500 1K 2K, so the ante's 2K, so slightly bigger ante. But I guess because YoH has 200K effective. Would you consider that 100 bigs or 200 bigs?
Seems like the how big is the ante?
2K. It's double the big.
It's 100 bigs though.
It's 100 big bets, I suppose, right?
Landon and I had this debate yesterday, and it's probably one where we're both a little right and a little wrong, but he's
debate
like
or screaming match?
Shouting match for sure.
But it's a big blind ante, right?
Well, it's a double big blind ante.
So okay, talk.
So
to me
yesterday, sorry, not in this hand, but yesterday they were playing 500 with a 1K ante.
Okay.
And
500, and then the big blind throws out the 1K.
Correct. So it's a 1K ante, and somebody was like 250 big blinds or 250,000 effective, and I was like, yeah, he's 500 big blinds. And Landon's like, is he? It's a 1K ante, and I was like, okay, well, if it's 500 no ante, how many big blinds do you have? you have 100, or
I guess
500, whatever.
500, yeah.
I guess the best metric would be to just, instead of using big blinds when there's ante games, just
It's
call it antes, right?
I don't know.
Or like if the ante is 2K and now 100 antes is
weird. It's a
200K.
It is weird because like if the
blind is-
ante was like 10 big blinds, then obviously it'd be weird to refer to your stack as 500 big blinds, but you still have to because you're opening according to the big blind.
Let's go back to
So you
Dan
can still-
Harrington.
but
Get
should
the
you?
M. Go.
I mean, you could still make it 1,000. That's still a viable open. It may not be optimal, but it's viable.
It's a weird strategic.
It's a spicy upgrade to the
because
game.
like obviously,
Well, the problem
the
is-
whole thing is weird. You're supposed to do limping and all this.
It's
other
not even
bullshit.
that. It's that we're still archaic in the way that we tell hand histories. Like we refer to stacks as big blinds, but the reality is you want to refer to stacks as SPR.
right.
So
So
that's the only relative metric.
exactly.
Right.
So
right.
when
True.
Yo gets 4-bet, I like flat sometimes because you do
Wait,
want to
walk
protect
us
your
through the
range.
hand because
Yeah.
there's people that haven't seen
Open
this
3-bet,
before.
4-bet, call. So that's pre-flop.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. Calling in traps sometimes is good. You can keep it running while I speak.
What was the 4x4 amount? Do we know?
38K.
Aces 4-bet
Thank you.
and
No.
Kings called.
Kings 4-bet, aces
Called.
called.
Okay.
So
And
calling in
they're
position.
200 deep, 200 bigs, or like
100
200, 200 adjacent,
They're 100 antes adjacent.
Paid off more than most people.
But yeah, 200 blinds.
200 big blinds, and 100 antes.
He made it 38 blinds to go.
It's very likely to get paid.
Yo ends up just calling, so they're gonna be.
I don't think.
Unless the board comes ace high or
They're
something.
basically gonna be like 2.5 SPR.
So there's a lot. I mean, Landon, there's a lot of things here. One, Kings is not like a pure 4-bet here at this depth.
I mean, Junk could find a
So
way to
yeah, then go ahead.
No, I mean,
I think out of position you're gonna lean 4-bet though.
so
I don't think so.
you definitely want
Not
to.
at 2. I mean, it depends. Like whatever. It's just.
It's
It's not.
irrelevant.
It's not like that relevant.
Yeah, I think in this game it's just going to be pure.
It's just gonna be pure in
It's
this
just gonna
game.
be
Yeah,
pure.
but I don't think optimally it's pure.
Pure. I think aces here is going to call a lot. You do want to still call at 38 blinds sometimes because you have some hands that you don't want to fold. So you want to start playing calls and you want to protect that by having aces. But then I don't know how much we want to raise with aces ourselves.
Yeah, I don't care for this raise.
I think it's
personally.
fine
On the
because you
flop?
don't block the king, but at the same time,
You don't
you're
block
in
the king.
position anyways. Like,
You do block the king. You block ace king.
SPR is still going to be low even if you raise or not. So it's not really that important to put in a raise. And now he's leading, and then
What's his flop raising range here? Like ace, jack
Ace-
of diamonds?
ace 4, ace 5.
Yeah.
The low stuff you want to unblock.
Right. You want to unblock his like king. No, like well.
You want to
I guess
unblock
queen
and have
jack.
equity.
Queen. You're unblocking queen jack 4-bet.
I would rather use like ace queen, right? Like blocking king queen suited hands because king queen suited is going to 4-bet
Wait.
for him.
King queen suited makes top pair though.
Well, like you want to block with ace king, king.
You want to
queen.
block his
You-
ace king king queen.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're going to find a raise, but I think most of his raising range, if you're going to have one, which I don't even know how much it exists just because
Probably
on
like-
this board.
Probably like a 10.
It's kind of a nightmare to raise ace 4, ace 5, and then get ripped on, especially because like you
Well,
want
shouldn't get ripped-
him to have ace 4,
you
ace
shouldn't
5.
get ripped on, right? It's king 3 deuce rainbow.
No, yeah, but I mean,
What
yeah,
are you-
sure,
what
he
are you
doesn't shove
jamming?
often, but it's like SPR's down to like 1.
You just click it back.
Oh, okay, fine, but my whole point is like you don't really want to face more aggression, and you're also wanting him to have ace 4, ace 5.
I would not play a raising range.
I
If I were
wouldn't
to
either.
have a raising range, you want to have hands that can still make good hands, right? And you want to unblock
Yeah.
jacks and like jacks, tens, queens.
He could
in
have
some
like the 3-bet
regard.
call with like 5, 6, and
Yeah,
then play
but
raise with that. But
you
that
could
sucks
just-
from a removal standpoint.
You could just use that to bluff later because you want to have
Right.
bluffs later, and then if he has
Right.
jacks and you continue, he's just going to check call.
I think
Right,
that's
you're just here.
the general consensus is delaying all your bluffs.
Yeah, basically, I think I'm in agreement. You basically want to block aces. You want to block ace king. You want to unblock queens, jacks, and tens, and then play raise with those hands. So those are gonna
right. But
be
like when you
ace
start to
5,
carve
ace
those hands
4.
out, they suck.
It's ace 5, ace 4. That's
But
all
like
your
you,
hands.
yeah, but again, you want him to have those hands. So like.
Right, but you want him to actually
You want
have
to have
no. You want him
jacks.
to have jacks and
Kind
queens.
of, but like we can't just like sheerly focus on blocking without considering the unblocking too. Ace 4, ace 5 will be pure give ups at some point in the hand, unimproved.
Not for out of position. They're just going to triple.
No, not when you raise.
For Yo, if he raises ace 4, ace 5, those will pure go
Yeah,
off.
you gotta go.
Those
Oh
will-
yeah. For Yo, I'm saying like I'm saying you would want him to have those types of hands. So say instead you bluffed with Jack 10.
Why
you
would
would-
you bluff a
no.
jack 10?
You wouldn't just Stay with me.
We're archaic in the way we tell hand
Say you have another hand that isn't ace 4, ace 5 that you're bluffing with.
Yeah, it's
You want to target
possibilities.
ace 4, ace 5 because they'll fold turn.
Now
Well,
when you
that's
have
why you
those-
don't bluff with those hands.
Oh,
God, that's what I
man.
said. Can you stay in the conversation for a second?
I'm a little confused too, though.
I am not confused. I understand exactly what you're saying.
I'm saying it's not fun to raise flop with ace 4, ace 5 because, yes, from a blocker standpoint, they're okay, but you're forgetting about the unblocking standpoint. You're not unblocking ace 4, ace 5 any longer.
But we're trying to unblock queens and jacks.
Yes, that part's nice, but again, those hands are a lot stickier than the ace high unimproved.
That's why you want to unblock them, because they now are indifferent on flop and then have to full turn.
Oh, they're not. I don't think they're indifferent on flop. I think they'll be indifferent on turn.
I think
that-
once
the-
you
the
raise flop,
point-
you're kind of at the bottom. Like queens and jacks is like bottom of range.
The
at that
point
point.
is
But they peel.
They peel, yeah.
The point is these hands do not reach the river and stack off, but they still have to invest chips.
Yeah.
Like, and they're drawing to 5% to spike a set.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
can't fold yet.
Yeah.
So that's why these hands, and even for out of position, are going to triple the ace 4, ace 5s that they 4-bet because they unblock queens and jacks in the same way.
Yeah.
So both ranges want the other ones that have queens, jacks, and 10s. So they take the hands that are
Sorry,
blocking the
I
guys.
guess my point is I don't think queens and jacks are a very big portion of the 4-bet range to begin with.
The 4-bet range is very small as is.
Yeah.
So
Sort
it
of.
has to be proportionally. Right?
The thing is, like,
I mean, there's a lot of things going on. 7 deuces in that range, which alters things
That's good.
pretty
That's
significantly.
good for the ace 4.
Well, there's a deuce.
yeah, but they're gonna call fold.
Well, 7 deuces is a pair. It can make 2 pairs.
That's what I mean.
It has to
and
call
I
for
think that plays into this hand a lot. But
Turn to 7, right?
correct.
Right. Yeah. So
there's
7 gets there.
Right. So there's a deuce on board,
Yeah.
which is relevant, and there's it's a huge bounty. It's like 5K ahead. So it's like a $35,000 bounty to win with 7 deuce, which makes you a lot more invested to try to show the fucking hand down.
Yeah, but it's only 5 big blinds per person.
I personally.
Per person, it's 35
Yeah.
big blinds, and you're. It's not even just that. Like once a large pot is created, it just becomes a portion of your range now.
I just don't see how imposition has a raise on king 3 deuce rainbow.
We're arguing the same thing.
I know.
No, I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, like if you put it in the machine, it's gonna give them like 5%, like a little splurge, a little spice.
I mean, you honestly might see it like
It just-
reduced down to 0
I
when you
mean,
look at all the candidates.
It also just depends on like what we assume is going to be a 3-bet call versus a pure 4-bet, right?
Wait.
In the sense of if YoH's range is different, he might not get to raise. If YoH's range is different, he does get to raise.
Oh, right. Well,
Right.
So you're talking about the call versus 5-bet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Call versus 4-bet. Just in the sense of
Five.
if he's 3-betting 6-7, 5-6, 7-8, like almost near pure, and now pure calling the 4-bet from under the gun 2, he's now not going to get a raising range.
Yes.
So his range is way too big, right? Who knows what his range is going to look like from that perspective? But we can assume that he's going to be a little bit tighter in that spot where his range is going to be a bit more polar because nobody has deuces and 3s. They both have
Shouldn't.
kings, right?
Shouldn't, yeah.
So they both have kings. In position, you can have aces sometimes. The ranges look very similar, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
the
think
calling range and the 4-bet range both have jacks and queens, where in position, you're going to have more jacks and queens than out of
I
position.
think the real problem is that the top of Jiang's range is very narrow and it's nutted.
Yeah, he has really good hands.
Right. And the bottom of Jiang's range is very narrow and drawing to the nuts.
Or it's just do 7 now.
Right,
just-
but
it's
like
just the nuts in the
do
turn.
7's effectively drawing
no,
to the
yeah,
nuts,
yeah.
right? Like it sucks to unblock kings, I guess, but like you just beat aces and ace king.
I think the 200 big blind 4-bet range is not. It doesn't have as much queens and jacks like everyone thinks.
That's what I'm saying.
That's-
Like
that's-
I think it's like all but non-existent.
So
was
that
the
that
argument.
actually makes it worse for the raise.
It
That
makes
was
it
the-
worse for the in position range if out of position is mostly going to be like more polar in the sense of
They
being
have
ace
to
and
be.
king high
It's
heavy.
just going to be like aces, kings, and then other
Ace,
ace
queen off.
X's. Not even ace queen off
But
because
like what else can
a
you
200
use? Ace 4,
ace
ace
jack
5.
suited,
Ace jack suited,
ace jack suited, ace 10 suited. Like those are going to be way
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
than-
but I guess this is what we were arriving at to begin with. Like you're almost better off just delaying your bluffs. Because
Yeah.
the fact is you're just going to want to peel those suited aces with backdoors for a very, very, very small bet.
Right, he bet 10K into roughly
Into
80.
70 or 80? Yeah.
Like 38K times 2, 76 with the, like 80K.
Yeah.
So now like you're just getting a really good price. And if he does have the hands that aren't the nuts, call it the middly stuff like queens, jacks, and 10s, if it who knows,
Right.
right?
He checks and now sometimes you get the 2-barrel
Now
off.
you just barrel it and he's fucked.
Right.
Right. And then if he barrels twice and only has good hands,
Right,
and
because the
doesn't
problem
check.
is like aces actually is a good hand in the sense that blocks his ace king, which is near top of range, but it unblocks kings, and now there's like a pretty fair.
Yeah, and if
It also
queens
blocks his
proportion.
bluffs.
and if queens and jacks don't
Exactly,
exist, and you go and you block ace 4, ace 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird raise now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think like aces in particular is like one of the worst hands
It's
you can raise
actually
with.
pretty bad.
And it's also the top of. It's also like the top of YoH's value.
You're just gonna run into kings.
It's a very funny thing because like all
Then
of
you can
this
get away on the turn. very
backwards
easily.
circular stuff is kind of what the machine comes up with when they realize that you raise 0% in
Right,
position.
right, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you just can't raise. You just fucked here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're kind of fucked.
You're just
I mean, maybe it's like there's something, but I don't know what. Like,
It's
mean,
king queen suited.
He's just somehow trying to win the max versus queens or jacks, but that's kind of crazy because you're only going to win one more bet off of them anyway, and it'll be a bigger bet if you delay to turn a river.
And these hands still stack off anyways, right?
Yeah.
The good ones, like king,
Yeah, like
queen
king-
suited, king
yeah,
jack
yeah,
suited,
exactly,
ace king off. Like these hands aren't going anywhere.
Right.
yeah, they're not stacking off.
The king
bro.
queen, like
King
it's
queen is
indifferent,
a-
right? Like it's
yeah,
it
king queen
gets
is a
indifferent
zero.
by
Yeah,
river.
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's one of these spots where the board literally cannot get scary unless the turn is a king.
Right. Like if he just calls the flop lead, you
still get the money
SPR
in.
is still 1.5.
Yeah.
So you're still going to get a fair amount of
But
money.
he saved-
I mean,
but he saved
there is some
He saved himself.
there is some instinct. There is some instinct to
said.
want to raise because the bet is so small. Because YoH's raise is also fucking tiny.
His raise is like
It's
maybe
it's
like a
quarter pot.
GO3-ish size, right?
Yeah, but it's like quarter pot, maybe slightly less.
It's fine though.
I'm not saying it's not fine. I'm saying it buys him rivers for a very, very, very cheap price where he doesn't have to stack off.
But like, how are you not stacking off aces? It's king 3 deuce.
I love the fold on the turn.
I mean, the fold of the
Wait,
Wait, do you
Yeah.
not?
He literally
wait,
snap
time
folded.
out. Do you also fold if it's not a 7? If it's like,
Makes
if
it
it's like an
easier,
8?
obviously, right?
I think it makes it well. I'm not worried about losing the 7 deuce though, because I can still counterfeit that. So maybe that was going through his head.
Man, you're an optimist, huh? No,
I mean, maybe that was what was going through YoH's head, but that wouldn't be what's going through my head. My what would be going through my head is Ace King never fucking leads here.
Yeah.
And he has no bluffs
Right.
with this lead. Like
Yeah.
he's way more
just
incentivized to check
narrowed down
jam.
the
What if he has
kings.
Ace King?
it's
No, it just doesn't lead.
Oh, this whole hand is a hand that with a raise that should not happen, a lead that should never happen.
Correct.
Right.
Like when I'm
Fold that should never happen.
And a fold that should never exist.
no, but
No,
I think
after-
the fold is a byproduct of all those things being added together.
Yeah, I think that the fold should always kind of happen after
Correct.
those things happen before that.
Yeah, I think when that sequence of events occurs and you have one pair and you're on the turn, like now facing quarter pot, it's just like, what the fuck is going on here?
You literally just want to like jump.
That's
You're
kind
just
of an
like,
elite
what
fold.
is
That's
this?
Why does
That's
he
an
lead
elite
kings on the
fold.
turn?
Like regardless, exploitatively elite top
I
tier.
think Jiang was afraid that Yo was raising flop to check back turn.
bro, Yo was
So he just didn't want him to see the full board, or he
Yo
wanted to
is
try to get
sick.
max value, or he wanted to try to get stacks in.
No, I mean maybe he was afraid that somehow he had diamonds and would just check them back.
Yo's
Yeah.
playing above the fucking rim,
Dude, he had kings with the king of diamonds. I don't know how we're finding a lead here, and I don't know. How, like, man, imagine how different this whole conversation is if we saw that Jiang had ace king off.
Yeah.
That's
He
the
just
thing.
wouldn't though. He just would not.
right.
Like
Nah, but that's a big assumption though. You
no,
know,
it's not.
It's hard
I played
to
with
say.
Jiang plenty.
He's not leading.
Yeah, but
like-
you would also not think that Ace is gonna raise the flop.
Doesn't
like if
matter.
you tell me like, oh, I played with Yo, and I tell you, oh, Yo raised the flop, folded the turn, you'll say no way.
I just wouldn't think he would fold the turn.
When was the last time you seen a line like
wholeheartedly-
that where they lead turn with ace king?
No, it
Bro,
doesn't happen. But I
Jiang-
also don't see Aces raise
Bro,
flop full turn.
Jiang,
So, like-
check called 3, where SPR was 15, and I bet top 2 3 times, and he just called with bottom set. Like he's not
What should
leading
I?
ace king on the turn. I had top 2.
Oh, you got lucky.
I got super lucky. I lost like 14,000 in a pot where I was supposed to lose 150.
He left the game after.
He literally was so upset he racked up and left. So it's like he's not leading ace king on the turn.
Oh my
Wait,
god,
He's not getting value from anything.
He really racked up and left?
Yeah, like 3 hands later, he couldn't take it.
man. this whole hand.
I couldn't help it, man. I was like so mad I didn't get stacked. I was trolling him like incessantly rather than thanking him for like saving
No,
me
you
money.
have to troll him. You have
I'm
to
just
troll
like,
him.
you fucking nit. What are you doing here? This is embarrassing.
That's so fucking sick.
What was the board? What was the final run out?
He opened hijack. I 3-bet cutoff with ace jack suited. We were playing 100, 200. So it went like 600, 2K call. Flop comes jack 8 deuce rainbow. He checks. I bet like 3/4 pot. So like 3K call. Turn is an offsuit 4. He checks. I bet pot. So like 10K call. River's an ace. He checks, and I'm like, fuck. Like
You bet like half pot.
the flush misses. I'm like, yeah, this is a really bad card for his range. So I bet like half pot, maybe 3/4, whatever. I think I bet like maybe 10K again.
Okay.
And he tanks.
Oh,
for,
you went like real small.
No, that's like half pot. I bet 10K on the turn. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So like 15K.
Okay.
Like 15K on the river. He tanks, uses 2 time banks, and then makes a crying call. And I'm like, fuck yeah, God his ass. Man. And I table ace jack, and he just like sheepishly shows the bottom set of deuces.
Oh my God.
Where like
It's not that bad.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's okay. What is he supposed?
He's supposed to either raise flop or then pure raise turn
Yeah,
if you
but
don't
like
raise
at
flop.
the river, I guess. Yeah,
What about
whatever.
flop and turn though?
It'd be
Yeah,
different. It'd be different if I like 3x potted river. Like, yeah, then fine. It's just a cry call.
Versus half pot, I guess you could just go all in.
yeah.
If you pot river, it's okay. It's fine.
Listen,
Probably
man,
just call.
this whole hand is just
I
like
don't know,
it's
man.
I wanna
very
play poker.
comical. It's very comical.
Anyway, the whole point is like I
The
think
whole
that's,
point is that you think he's tight.
yes, yes.
Newsflash, buddy.
He led with the fucking nut. He literally led with the nuts into an uncapped range. Like, yeah, he's tight.
But he's a professional poker player?
He claims no, but I think he plays very, 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 very well. So I would say
Newsflash,
he likely
buddy.
makes money playing poker.
You're barking up the wrong tree here, thinking that Jack 10 is gonna find a check raise, Matt.
Jack
Nobody,
10.
nobody was talking about Jack 10.
What is
The fuck are you talking about?
No, we're not going back into that. Please.
Nobody was
Please.
talking about Jack 10.
Please, no.
There was another.
I was also talking about in position.
There was another hand that got a lot of buzz. There was another hand that got a lot of buzz. Like it was the.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
playing like stand up or something.
So they were playing the stand-up game.
Oh, there's more.
Which again was huge. It was 5K person. So for anybody who doesn't know what the stand-up game is, everybody has to stand. When you win a pot, you sit. Now, the purpose of this game is not to win it, it's to not lose it. Because winning the game means that you collect one bounty from the loser. But the loser pays a bounty to everybody at the table. So they were playing at the time 500, and they decided to play a 10x stand-up bounty. So it was 5K per person, which is fucking massive. So the loser loses 35,000. Only, I don't know if YoH was still standing or not, but Ben for sure was, and Aaron Zhang for sure was.
It's also like if you are the last one
That's who loses the
standing.
bounty.
No, but if you're the like, let's say there's 2 people left. The last, you basically pay 2.
No, that's
Yeah.
only in 7 deuce. 7 deuce if you're the last to fold. You pay
Sorry,
double.
I was thinking about the wrong game. Yeah, right.
That doesn't happen in stand-up game. So at least Aaron and Ben were still standing. YoH may have been, but I don't think so. I'm not sure though. But anyway, the way that this hand plays out, you can cut to the graphic, Guapo, is Aaron Zhang opens 12,000 from the cutoff, which is 24 big blinds for those paying attention at home, as an attempt to sit down and not lose. The irony being that he's literally risking 1/3 of the bounty in a spot where it's like, you might just be able to open normally and maybe play a big pot with A7, whatever. So Ben then has 500 big blinds on the button with 2 jacks and decides this might look light if I jam. So he rips it, which honestly,
a fucking genius.
it's a lot. I mean,
but he's a genius.
yeah.
Why was somebody telling me that YoH Viral's involved in this hand after?
Oh, because he is.
Oh, I'm just wondering.
So the thing with
But he has
this
the ace-8
jam,
offsuit.
I'm curious.
Yeah, but he's dominating ace-5 suited.
the thing with this jam by Ben is, it's obviously egregious, but with the meta of the stand-up game going on with Aaron opening to 24x and all this other stuff, there's a lot of dead money out there. You can kind of start to justify, but I think like not for this depth. Like usually a 10x jam over an open is like the absolute ceiling of how much money we can shove into the middle and expect to still perform pretty well. And also, he has jacks. So it's like he should just want to play a big pot here, I think.
Trouble hand.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like the whole
Don't wanna
thing
see
is
that
that like
flop.
Aaron clearly has a hand that probably is not calling off unless he opened a pair, but like he might just rip through with a pair anyway.
But is Benba standing or no?
Yes. So I think Aaron and Bemba are safe. Right. So there's that meta.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, he jams.
He's playing that.
He jams for an obscene amount. And then it folds to YoH in the big blind.
Yeah. So now YoH is like
Who has the powerhouse.
Ben has nothing.
YoH has the powerhouse ace-8 off. A real average hand here. And he's facing a 24x open and a 500 big blind shove.
Yeah, but like
There's only one clear solution.
Well, we were going to spend 7 minutes figuring out what that answer was because he was deep in the fucking tank. deep.
I wonder what the Sims say. Probably call, right?
Bro, the best part of this whole situation was that Haralabob was at the table. Because what ends up happening is YoH finally calls it off, which obviously is a ridiculous gamble, but God bless this man. It's his money, and I love the way that he's using it. And then Aaron has A7, and he goes, you guys don't care if I show, right? You don't care if I... And they're like, no, whatever. So he shows that he has A7, folds. There's already another dead ace from somebody else. And then for TV, they had to show they're all in hands, right? So Ben rolls over the jacks, and YoH turns over the ace-8, and Haralabob's like, what took you so long? And he's just like trolling him. He's like, it's like, what is going on here? Like, he sees the A7 and the Ace-8 that just like invested infinite. He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Needless to say, the game went until like 7 a.m. this morning, and Bob was there the whole time. So, I mean, the advertisement surely worked.
Man. There was such a good one-liner when Haralabob and YoH played a hand where they both hit ace king. The board was like queen 6-3, and flop goes check check. Turns are queen. Haralabos checks. YoH bets 1,000 into 70,000, and Haralabos just says, keeping the pressure on. Keeps the pressure on, baby.
Man, can we say like the philosophy? I'm sorry to zoom out a little bit, but the philosophy of WPT, the nature and the atmosphere is so much different than WSOP.
WPT is
Are you talking about
vibing.
like the cash game aspect?
The cash games,
There's no
everything.
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, cash at WSOP is like very much branded itself as a tournament series. So cash is just like very much non-existent. That's left for the other casinos.
Yeah, it's
and you know, with the PokerGo stuff, like their schedule is very rigid and there's no ability to adjust. With this, like they just want to feature whatever the fuck is going on. And if they can get like, you know, characters like Haralabob and YoH and Eric Person and, you know, all these other guys to show up and show out and play fucking nosebleeds and splash and throw shit at one another for days on end, like they're gonna do it. And like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was great.
Like Eric somehow was stuck the second he sat down on day one. Like he sat down, he's like, hey guys, how's it going? I'm buried 700. Like honest to God, I didn't even turn the stream on yet. And there's already tweets. We have a 400K pot brewing. It's like, you guys haven't even gone live yet. And sure enough, like he played a massive pot, doubling up Haralabob like instantly. Who, by the way, shout out to Mr. Bob Vulgaris. Big winner day one. I think he won like 600. Keyboard Monkey too. Over the 2 days, he won like somewhere in the neighborhood of 600.
Keyboard Monkey won 275. He tweeted.
Over the 2 days?
Mm-hmm. He lost 50 the first day. He must have rebought some.
He only won 275 or 300 yesterday?
No, wow, he won 275 total. So
right, but I'm saying like
there was a lot of add-ons that were
okay,
because even Benba, like I thought Benba won more. Like I texted him, he's like, nah, like they didn't get the add-ons that I put on or whatever.
That's how fast the money was.
It happens sometimes, you know.
It goes fast,
especially in cash games, they just pull it out.
Yeah,
of their
like they're just putting it out
right.
the Ziploc or
it's so
shit.
hard to keep track.
Right. Like they really care much about.
Yeah, they're not like, hey, production, I'm adding on.
Especially if they lose like a big
100,000.
pot, like bro, they ain't trying to talk to you. Like they just trying
They're just
trying to add on the 100.
Yeah, very meekly and just like
I'm adding $1 million. Like that's the only time you do it. It's like you're trying to fucking flex.
But yeah, I mean, it was a massive game. They ended up playing 501K 2K the first day before it was all said and done, which I know all too much about. Frank the Bank was pissed because like they kept jacking up the stakes, which by the way, I feel for Frank because like same thing happened to me when I went to LA. Like they just keep doubling the stakes every fucking hour.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, he's complaining, I didn't bring enough money. Like if you would have just told me ahead of time we were playing 1K, 2K, I would have brought more money. And he's like sitting there with 150K just like mad. And honestly, rightfully so, because like Frank is a guy who gives all the fucking action.
Right.
But when you make it 1K, 2K and he has 75 blinds in front of him, like he just doesn't anymore.
How much action can you give?
Right, like what can you do?
I don't want to go home yet.
Yeah. Right. It's like he just stops peeling the 10-8 off.
Yeah, it's a weird problem. Like that is one of the problem sets of like having cash games in different cities and stuff where it's like, you know, you can't bring like, what are you going to do? Like bring $2 million every single time to a
It's also this weird thing
game?
where it's like the softer the game, the more likely the stakes are to continually double, where you almost get martingaled by the weaker players. Because like yesterday's game was a tougher game. Like it was a more reggy lineup and they played 500 start to finish. Never up the stakes.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of being mega rich. Like they're gonna
hey,
fucking.
you want to play for more money?
At some point, you start feeling like your heart rate starts going up.
It's not even a heart rate thing. It's a variance thing.
Yeah,
like at some point, they could just still buy back in and you can't.
Yeah, that's the point.
And they just
right?
martingale you to a point
They
where like
get
you're
you.
dead.
They're like, you want to play 5,000, 10,000? Oh, how about 10,000, 20,000?
It really is.
550,000, 100,000.
I remember when because sometimes I would talk to my dad about some poker stuff, and my dad would tell me, isn't cash games sometimes like some people just have so much money and they don't really care, like, and obviously I'm not playing at the stakes, so that's important for me, but it's very clearly like left side, right side of like they have too much money and you just cannot catch up.
I mean, honestly, like, there might just be some math.
There is some edge.
There legitimately might just be some math where like you're drawing dead. Even as a professional, because like
you have to win too many all-ins.
Yeah, you'll just have to win way too many pots to actually survive.
The gambler's fallacy, Berkey.
I think once like crypto gets more established and more, because then you just have stables. You could just like send it to the casino and they can give you chips.
That's what you meant. I thought you meant like at some point when crypto comes back, we'll all be rich enough to be able to do it.
No, you ain't going that far.
This is a manager. He has a solution.
I'm like, damn, that would be nice if we could all just start playing 5,000, 10,000.
We all just had money again.
But crypto kind of solves this problem, right? Like if you could, because you could just send it wherever. Like
yeah,
quickly.
I mean that kind of already happens in a peer-to-peer way, but you're right. You're still limited on chips.
You're limited on chips, yeah, exactly.
Going into day 2 of Live at the Bike, there was 5 of us trying to buy chips off of Andy.
Yeah, like no casino, you're not going to be able to walk up to a
it was
casino.
Honestly, he was like a parent doling it out. He's like, okay, I can give you 100 and you 100.
Yeah,
this guy's a little bit whalier, so I'm going to give him 2, which means I have to take your 100 back now.
Right, but now like no casino is going to be. You can't walk up and say, I'm going to give you $1 million in USDT, and they're going to be like, okay, but in 5 years maybe they will.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's just hard. Like it's a problem for the people organizing games too. It's a problem. It's just it's something that you as a professional kind of have to deal with for now, because like even now, like a lot of these European kids, like they come and like they swap money to play here. And then like when they go home, they have to swap it out. And like, I try to facilitate, like, they'll send me Bitcoin. I'll give them, cash or cash or whatever it is, like however they help. But like, yeah, even like intercity is like, it's hard to move money from, it's just hard. Like, how are you going to move 200,000 like in a week? Yeah. And sometimes you don't have like a lot of notice. You're like, hey, have a seat for you tomorrow. You want to play? It's like, okay, how do I get all this money over there?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a problem set. So it's nice
especially when the games just keep getting bigger too.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like 2-4 is no longer 2-4. Well, it depends on the lineup. 2-4 is only 2-4 if the lineup's shitty.
Right.
If the lineup's good, if it's a game that like you're frothing at the mouth to play, you better be prepared to play 1K, 2K.
Right.
It's a little easier for like Ben, who lives here.
Only here though. It's not going to be easy for him if he goes to LA to play that same game.
Exactly. You need to like call up Antonio and be like, hey, bro,
it's not even that.
Money.
I mean, yeah, it's not even that. It's just there's a finite number of chips. So it's like at some point you just have to visit the cage. Right. Yeah. And it's like in order to do that, we're talking wires, we're talking cash, we're talking a lot of things that are really difficult to come across in this landscape when you're talking about, high 6-figure, low 7-figure numbers.
Yeah. I remember I was in LA one time and I was like, Antonio, I need 50,000. He's like, all right, bro, just come to the house. I'm like, all right, bro, relax. Thanks. I guess, but I mean, that's a low number in this world. Like 300,000. Like, I don't think I could call anybody. I think I'm on my own.
Yep.
Maybe I could get some USDT from Brian.
There you go. I'll send it over your way.
Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up here. Tomorrow, we are live. We should be live.
Well, we'll be live. It's just a matter of where we're live from.
Yeah. All right, so tomorrow we are going to be live 100%. Not sure here, not sure the win. Hopefully it's the win. We will find out.
If it's the win, we're going to be live at 9:45 from the feature table utilizing their set. If we have to pull an audible again, it'll probably be the same deal. We'll go live an hour later. So stay tuned to all your socials. As always, please like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think about the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back sometime between 9:45 and 10:45 a.m. tomorrow. Follow us on social to pay attention and make sure you're here for the start of the show. Thank you guys so much.
Let's skedaddle.
We'll see you then.
Skedaddles. Good.